Hey everyone, thanks so much for being a subscriber to my YouTube channel. We hit 4K subscribers this week. So as a thank you, I'm going to do a little mini demo for you guys. Thanks so much for making my channel so awesome. Today I'm going to be recreating a demonstration I did at the IAPS convention this year in June. I named this presentation Navigating Your Trouble Zones. So in the painting that I'm going to do for you today, I've set myself up with some particular challenges. Number one, it's in a proportion that I'm not quite as comfortable with. It's a rectangle. I love designing my compositions in squares, and I'm really familiar with that. So the rectangle automatically throws me off just a little bit. The other thing about this piece is, well, I'm not really familiar with it. It's a scene in Taos, New Mexico, so it's a landscape that I'm not quite as comfortable with painting. It also has a structure in it, so that's one more element that I'm going to have to navigate. So the first thing that I'm going to do is do a little thumbnail for you, and then I'm going to get up here on my Pastelmat paper, and I'm going to do a finished piece for you. Okay. Okay, I like this little scene. I think this is really very lovely. But as I said, I'm not super familiar with it. I like this large foreground. I like this structure here. The structure's right about at the rule of thirds. So if I come along and divide my little thumbnail sketch, so my structure is kind of sitting right in this vicinity. I think that that will work out pretty well. Something like that. Just go ahead and indicate it right away, because I know I want that to be an integral part of what I'm doing. There's kind of a little secondary building. There's a kind of large foliage mass here. There's a fence line running, little fence. And I want to get this guy in here too. That's a pretty large element. I love the color of that. So I'm going to get that in. And then there's these foliage masses. There's a little building in here. I think that I'm going to eliminate that. I don't think that it needs it. I've already got this structure, and I want that to be really the focal point of my piece. So I don't think I need the other structures in there. I'm going to get this foliage in there really good. So that's about right. There's a lot going on right here. The other thing that's going on right back here, there's kind of a shadow, an indication. It feels like there's a shadow, but there's also a shift in the local color of the foreground. So I'm going to try to say something about that in my thumbnail, that this is kind of a little bit more in shadow here, and this is in the light. And there's a lot of stuff going on back in here in the background. I'm probably going to keep that pretty simple. Maybe say something about the building here, and that this is a little bit darker back here. I'll go ahead and get something in there, my thumbnail. So with thumbnails, you know, I try to keep them thumbnails. I don't want this to be a little drawing. It's for me, it's not for you. You know, it's kind of a little map. So I want to get a little something about this fence line in there. So we got this going back here. We've got the buildings. I got this shape back here. Maybe it comes up a little bit more. Maybe something about the sky. I've got this idea that there's a shadow, that things are in shadow here, so that's good. Okay, I think that's going to do it. I think that's enough information. All right. Okay, now I've got a lot of tools here. I've got a little thumbnail, which I'm pretty happy with. I've got my reference material. So I think I'm pretty ready to roll here. Need to make sure that this is the same proportion as my thumbnail. I think it's a little bit like so, a little bit cropped. And I divided my thumbnail in just about thirds, something like this. So I'll do this as well. So that helps me, just makes the drawing really easy. And so my building is sitting right up in about here. So it has these three little windows, a window up here. So I can get that in right away, with no trouble. And right in here, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's foliage. There's kind of some layers of foliage and some little trees, and there's a lot of activity. I'm going to kind of simplify that. Then I have this sort of idea of a fence line coming forward, and it kind of comes forward to about here, and then it changes and it gets a little something like that. And then I have some foliage back in here, kind of a larger mass here, and then a little bit taller one kind of moves forward, and try to get the gesture of that, and that coming down to the fence line. The other thing that I have is sort of that cast shadow, or shadow idea, that this is all kind of in shadow. So I'll go ahead and say something about that. And I've got this really interesting kind of I think it's Camesia right here. It's a really pretty gray, blue gray, very indicative of Taos, New Mexico. All right. Oh, and then I need my distant hillside, which is doing something like that. So that's kind of it. That's pretty good for my drawing stage of the game here. I can say a couple little things about the value and the direction of light. So I'm really saying that the light is coming from up and above. That's helpful. Get a little bit more here. And I think that's good. Okay. Maybe a little something more about my little fence line here. Something like that. Okay. All right, I think I'm ready to go. So now I have to decide about the value and the colors for each of these major shapes that I've got established. That's my main thing. So I always want to start, what's the biggest, easiest thing for me to see? And in this case, it's kind of that foreground, and it's got this, it's sort of this pinky, warm brown. But I know that I want something, so something a little bit darker than the paper. So I think I'm just going to come in really easy does it with something in here, just like a really light wash. I don't want to fill the tooth of the paper too much yet because it's the first thing I put down and I don't even know if it's right. So next, I see this sort of grass line back here. And I'm going to use this kind of blue, green, gray. That's what I see it as. And I'm going to drag some of that in here. I know I'm going to want to use this in this over the sagebrush, so I can use that over here. I'm always thinking about staying in the middle at the beginning, the middle value at the beginning stages. I don't want to go, I want to pick what is that. I want to take each of the masses and average them out. And what is the middle of them? I don't want to be at the darkest and I don't want to be at the lightest. Not yet. Okay, that's a pretty good start. Now I need to get something in for these guys. So I want to pick some green. I'm going to stay with the local color. Again, that's kind of the middle. See how everything is really close in value? This and this and this are all, see how they sort of dive into one another? They're all pretty close at this point. And that's okay. I'm just really establishing my shapes here. What value are they? All right, I've got this shadow down in here. So I need to step down in value a little bit to say that shadow, that this area of foliage that's in shadow. That works relative to this. I want something back in there, and I'm just for fun, I want to shift to a different kind of green, something a little more emerald green. Not so much that I see it, I just feeling like it would be fun to do. And maybe I'll bring some of this down in here as well. Okay. Now my main dilemma here is, do I make this distant hillside darker as is indicated in my reference material? In Taos, New Mexico, the atmosphere is very, very clear. There's very little of the influence of aerial perspective going on. It's about 7,000 feet. So a lot of times those more distant hillsides and even mountains can appear pretty dark. So do I run with that, or do I exaggerate the sense of aerial perspective and go ahead and make it lighter? But you know what? I'm just feeling that it would be a good contrast to make, especially with this. I'm going to make my structure light in value. I'm just feeling like this maybe will kind of work out in this case. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to make it darker. see what happens. Okay, all right. I'll live with that one and see where I get. Go ahead and fill in some more of this foliage that I've got in here. I've got some clumps, clusters of that are a little bit darker, kind of coming forward, and also some clusters of some sagebrush, some different nice variety there. All right, so now I want to say something about this grass that's in the light. I don't want it to be too light yet, because that's right about the value of the paper. Is that right? Do I want to brighten it up just a little bit? I think so. I think that would be cool. Just a tiny bit lighter than the value of the paper. I know I'm going to want to shift this a little bit as I get into my painting. Bring this back and in between, the little kind of goes up the hillside just a little bit and in between the foliage. Okay. That's all right. I'm feeling like I want a little bit of lavender back in here. I'm just wanting to cool this shadow area down a little bit, and also just brings a little luminosity to this area. It's kind of got this shimmering quality to it, so I'm just feeling like this lavender, addition of this lavender, and as I'm putting it down, I'm feeling how nicely that's working. That's cool. And I've got some grasses, really being guided right now by the local color, but not so much so that I'm not willing to, say pop in that lavender a little bit and mix it up just a little bit. In my piece, I've got a little idea that there's a sort of a pathway coming forward. If not a pathway, it just kind of some, like a little guiding into this composition. It's just kind of a dirt path, but it's okay. And now there's some grasses right on the corner that if I include those, what's kind of nice about that, it's kind of act as a little stopper. And again, I want you to go in to my composition and kind of meander around in it, and so maybe that will help out. Maybe not. We'll see. I don't want to get this too light. This all wants to be in shadow. See, so I don't want to get it as light as what's going on over there. Okay. Let's see what else. What else? Maybe some more of this idea of purple, a little bit darker this time here. So I get a gradation from the bottom of my composition up into this area. That will be nice. Can mix some of this in here as I go along. So I get a nice active mix of color and starting to get some mark making in here. Okay. This might work for my fence line. No, that's a little too bright. I want something a little bit more muted. Yeah, that's a little dark. Okay. Maybe this. I don't know. It's a little dark too. not finding it, but all right, let's see what this does. Maybe that. Okay. Oh, that's looking good. All right. So now we need to start, maybe the sky. Maybe I need to get some sky in there so I can really see what the value relationships are. Until I get the sky in there, I really don't have them, do I? I really don't have things set up so I can really see what's going on. I'm going to get some dark side to my foliage up here before I do that, just because it's fun. And I'm procrastinating. I'm picking something for the sky. I'm definitely procrastinating. I don't know what I want my sky to be at this point, so I'm moving on to some other part of my painting that I sort of know my way to a little bit better. And that's okay to do. I want to keep moving instead of sticking in one spot. If I get stuck in one spot, I'm likely to get stuck there. So if I don't know what I'm doing, this is kind of that navigating your trouble zones. If I don't know what I'm doing in an area, you know, I want to kind of move along to something else rather than just picking on the one spot. If we start picking away at stuff, we can really get stuck. So I want to move throughout my entire piece all the time and build it all together. In other words, I don't want to stay, I wouldn't stay and finish this building. I don't want to do that. I want to finish everything. Obviously, you can only make marks in one spot at a time, but I want to bring it up sort of together, not painting it like a puzzle, like you're going to finish the one section before you move on. So, okay, yeah, that's starting to look good, but I do have to decide on that sky. Okay, so I think in the reference material, that sky, it's a very traditional kind of blue sky blue. Maybe I'll start with that up in here. I'm not wild about the clouds in this, but you know, I'll use it as a starting point. Okay, so now I want to say something about those clouds. So I'm going to come in with not white like it seems like the photograph. I think I'll use something a little step down, a little yellower. Something more like that. And I'm pretty much, you know, I'm filling the tooth of the paper pretty well here. I can already start designing the shapes of my foliage because I've got those established with my little sky holes, even down in here, making sure that they are have a variety of shape and size so that they don't look like a pattern. Paying attention to that edge, maybe softening that edge a little bit. Really want to be careful. Okay. And I can drag this sky right over the edge of my distant hillside to really get that very soft. Even though in my reference it's not, you know, that's the one thing I am going to exaggerate, the softness of that edge. So I do at least get a little bit of recession there. Come along and soften that too. I might come back in and a little bit like that. All right. Play with that edge quite a bit. It's fun. And just get the rest of that. Oh, what's the shape of this cloud mass? Yeah, I don't really like that right there. That's funky. Nah, get rid of that. So how much blue do I really want? Maybe it's got to get redesigned just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now. I don't, I'm not really sure about it, but one thing, getting this in, it really does for me. It tells me something about the value of this. So that's, really, really informative. And what is going to be the value of my structure? So I want to go ahead and get that in. And I definitely want the structure to have a shadow side and a light side. So I'm going to go ahead and use this light blue. I think that that's going to be about the right value. And one thing I don't want to do also is get my structure too large. Already I feel like it's a little big. I want it to sit back there. It's got these windows. I'm going to put those in as, I'm going to go ahead and put them in as a kind of dark lavender, at least to begin with. I may have to darken them a little bit. And I don't, notice that I'm just making a little mark for those. I'm not trying to get them to be exact. In fact, I don't want them to be exact. Now I want a light side to my structure. And I'm going to use that almost white that I used in the sky to get that in there like so. And that works out pretty well. I think I want a little bit darker in the windows, just a tad. So I'm going to go to my blue spruce here. Yeah, something like that. That's pretty, it's pretty good. I can clean up some of that edge if I want. Now, I've got this other lower structure in here right underneath this building, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted that in there, but I think I kind of do. So I'm going to go ahead with that. And it's also got a light side to it. So I'm going to use a pink, really light pink, to say that light side of this building. And it also has a window, and its window is light. So something like that. I right now I'm not gonna go any further with either of these. Just gonna leave, just kind of suspend my judgment on what I've got here, because I think it's fine, and I don't, until I get the rest of this going, I'm I'm fine with it. Okay, so now, now I want to readdress this shape. And how light do I want that? I think I want it lighter. So I'm going to grab something lighter and something more yellow. Really pick up that kind of warmer tone. Just drag that over what I've already got. And it come up into my area up here. Just pick out a couple things. I'm going to soften that just a little bit. Okay. Okay, I think I'm feeling pretty good about it. Okay, I realized I took a little break here, and I realized that my sky holes are right smack dab in the middle of my tree. Boy, okay, that's one of those trouble zones I need to navigate. Definitely need to get rid of that. Don't want the sky holes in the center of my trees. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and start really designing out these shapes and adding on some color and getting a little bit more form in the foliage and getting a little bit more form down in here. So that's fun. Let's see. I'm going to come in here a little stronger this time with some of this lavender. Really like talk about this idea down here that I have of a pathway. I'm really feeling like this purple was going to be the thing that kind of helps me out here. A little bit more dominant than the red that I had in there, which, you know, I think that works. So I'm going to just drag a little bit of this rose madder over the top of that purple, settle it down just a tad, that just kind of marry it together with that other, and that works out. Okay. So let me get a little bit more active in here in my marks, a little stronger. Okay. Now what else? What else do I want? I want something a little bit lighter. Do I have anything a little bit lighter? That's just a tad lighter. Okay, maybe that'll work. Kind of lost my fence line, my poles, but that's okay. I'm still pretty thin, so I definitely can get those poles in the if I want any of them on top. All right, I think I want some little clusters of foliage down in here too. Definitely want little clusters. I don't want to draw individual little plants. I want some little clusters. Moving forward, and there's some little ideas in here. There's one kind of right here. That's nice. Okay, so I'm going to get a little more active in my mark making. I'm feeling pretty confident about what I set up for myself, so I can stand to do that. Get a little bit more of the character of what these plants are. Again, I really don't want to paint individual trees and plants, but I want the character of what I've got So let's see, I'm going to get a little bit of this eggplant in the dark, so a little bit of a mixture of different colors. I'm going to come back in with my blue spruce down in here. Oops, it's not quite the right one. This is it. So within a value mass, I want a nice luminosity, a variety of hues to say a value mass. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. So I've got the eggplant and the blue spruce in there. And I'm going to come back here and got these little bit more distant foliage in here. Okay. Maybe in here while I'm at it, I'm just going to play with some darks. It's just kind of fun. Just kind of getting some different kinds of marks going. Okay, I want a little bit more light on the sides of these trees. So I'm going to come in, and I want something with a little bit more chroma. How about this? No, that's too light. Yeah, let's try this one. Even in here, soften that up just a little bit. Variety of kinds of marks as well, so that I have a, I want to use a nice vocabulary of mark making within a painting. That's kind of my style. I don't build it with one type of mark. There are pastelists that do that, and very beautiful work that just use one type of mark to do everything. For instance, a line, and that creates a particular kind of look within your piece, which it's really very personal and individual how you want to make your marks. Marks are what makes us individuals as painters. Okay, I'm going to come in with some pink now in this mass over here. Okay. All right, we're getting there on this. Feeling pretty good about it. So I want some light on this, on the tips of this sage brush over here. Still want it to feel like it's mostly in shadow though, so I don't want to go too overboard on that. Just a little bit. Maybe mix some of this purple in there too. That's kind of good. Okay, I'm going to just kind of design this shape a little bit over here. Spend a little time playing with it. Again, getting the character of what kind of tree is this? So what are these? What's the contour of it? What are the sky holes look like? What shape are they? me some really light lights. Don't be afraid to go ahead and give some things some power. I'm going to go ahead and get these really light lights here, because there's kind of sparkling of light on this foliage, so I'm going to play with that idea a little bit. So I'm deciding on some marks that are going to give me that quality without doing every little individual bit of grass. Same here. I don't want to do individual blades of grass necessarily. I'm trying to get grassness. Okay. And okay. All right, so now I want to think about that sky color again. I'm going to readdress it. And I'm really not wild about that blue, so I'm going to come in with a little bit more of an aqua idea. And I like that better. I like that a lot better. It just feels like it ties in more with the piece overall. And there's a little gesture there. It's like it's windy, so I want to maybe catch that too on the foliage here. That's nice, right? Okay, so I need a little bit more of the quality of light that I've got going. So, heavy sigh. I want some gray in here. I'm settling this down. Ah, that's nice. And I'm thinking about the topography a little bit as I'm making these marks. See, I'm thinking about what's happening on I like this. I like how this is kind of built over the course of this painting, the texture and quality of light. It's kind of come together pretty nicely. I really am getting that sensation that I was after when I picked the reference material. That's really what was attractive to me about it. And so when I get to this point in a piece, and oh yeah, I was able to capture that. That's really a nice thing. All right. Okay. Just working on getting in to the distance. There's some rocks. I don't think I'm going to include those. I don't think I need it. In this distant hillside, I do want to add some color back there. I'm feeling like this lavender will work. Maybe I need to step it a little bit darker. Yeah, that works pretty well. And that helps tie it in just a bit. Let's see, maybe I went a little too far. Clean that up. Clean up my sky just a little bit. Got a little mark right here that feels like that's kind of a trouble zone thing. It's a little, there's a little tangency where this form and this form come together. That's an area that, and there's a lot of contrast there. That's an area that it could get more attention than I want it to get. There's a little distant structure just right kind of behind this. Maybe I'll say something about that. Now I want a little bit of light on the edge of this tree to really separate it. Not sure that's exactly right. Let's see. Maybe I'll use this. This is not a green that I'm totally fond of. Sometimes it's not what you're fond of, it's what works in your painting. A lot of times, you know, we'll see something in our palette and we'll go, oh, I don't like that color. I'll never use that color. Well, usually there's a reason why stuff is in your palette. It might not be a color you'll wear, but it's usually got a reason to be in the spectrum, right? So I'm just working on developing the sense of light and form in this foliage mass. Trying to get a nice variety of hues to do that with. Different kinds of green. So I've got more olive green and then a green that's a little bit more blue-green. So I really start to get a little bit of a form to this guy. And that's pretty nice. And then I think I'll just add some of these little bits of really hot light like I did on over in here. I don't want to overdo it, but there's this sort of sparkling that's happening that I think, you know, I want on those as well. Okay. Again, I want a nice variety of kinds of marks. looking good. It's fun. Okay, so now I've gotten to the point where I really need to put those fence posts in if I want them. I think I want them. Maybe I'll just, before I do that, I'll do something. I'm procrastinating on putting those fence posts in, so I can keep procrastinating a little bit by getting the, the lights on the tops, the crowns of these distant foliage masses. That's kind of nice. Do that. That's good. But that looks good. Maybe even over here a little bit. That's pretty fun. Okay, so now, yes, I do need, if I want those fence posts in, I need to do it. I'm at that point. And so, okay, so what I want to do is these larger ones, I really want them to look natural. I'm going to head to my blue spruce. They want to be pretty dark, but I want to use this blue spruce. I'm going to use it like this. So I have so it's a kind of a broken line that I'm using. I don't want to draw a line like that. That's not what I want. I want there to appear to be sort of atmosphere intervening between the fence post and my viewer. So kind of a broken, rugged line is what I'm after. And these are kind of, you know, kind of rugged fence posts. I want to get the intervals between them sort of right as well, if there is a right or wrong to them. They diminish in height as they go back. Got to get that. Right? Okay, and then as I meet up here with this other sort of fence line, it sort of changes. Okay, and so now as I go back here, what I'm going to be doing is picking out the negative shapes. So we get back down here, I can do this fence line with the negative shape, which I love to do that, always love that. So that kind of serves as that, that's nice. I think that works pretty nice. All right, I don't think I need too much more for that fence line. I want something a little bit lighter even back here in these lights. In this grass. It's really a very, very light, creamy, almost white, but it's not white. Back in here. Just picking out some little kind of details. As I'm going back here. Now, do I want to do anything more on my little structure? I'm kind of not feeling like it. I kind of think it's fine. Maybe the top of that maybe it gets that. Maybe this one gets a little bit hotter right there. But I definitely don't want to overdo that. Maybe that gets a little something there. But I'm kind of feeling pretty good. One thing I do want to do is get a little idea back here of a transition from the plain to this hillside. Something like that. Do I like the sky? I pretty much like the sky. I'm going to maybe get a little bit more active in there. Maybe something like that. So just a little bit more active stroke in the sky. But I think there you have it. I think I definitely had a few trouble zones in this piece, or potential trouble zones with the structure, with just being unfamiliar with this kind of landscape, just a little bit different for me. So the fence posts are something that I'm not super familiar with. It's not something I do a lot. I'm going to put a little side on a couple of these, a little light side on a couple. I think catching the light just a tad. I don't want to overdo that one. Just a little bit. There, that's good. Okay. I think that I'm going to call this one good. I hope you really enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed the whole presentation, navigating your trouble zones. Your independent assignment for this lesson is the perfect opportunity to explore some back roads, discover some historic buildings, or just enjoy the beauty of your own home. If you can't get out and about, I provided some really nice reference that I think you'll enjoy. When it comes to the drawing aspect of this lesson, spend some time there, but don't let it get you stuck. Hi there, thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It helps us out. And click the bell icon to get notifications. We have lots more coming for you.